Hindenburg comes, accuses Adani Group, and suddenly their shares fall sharply. SEBI also gave a clean sheet, and the Supreme Court also gave a clean sheet. In just 2 weeks, this tiny report wiped out 110 billion from the market. At that time, all TV, media, newspapers, and even exports were saying the same thing: Adani is finished, Adani is gone. Hindenburg comes, accuses Adani Group, and suddenly their shares fall sharply. Then slowly more details come, investigations happen, more reports come, then slowly the share starts to bounce back. This happened last year and the same happened again last week. So in today's video, we'll see the entire story from then till now. All of this started with a tiny report. In just 2 weeks, this tiny report wiped out 110 billion from the market, which is approximately 9 lakh crores. All of this started on January 24, 2023 when Hindenburg released a report that heavily criticized the Adani Group. Now, stock market is a place where if any news comes out, whether it's true or false, good or bad, the stock market takes it to heart. If it's positive, share prices skyrocket, and if it's negative, prices drop heavily. Within just 2 weeks of this report coming out, Adani's market cap dropped by 110 billion, that is approximately 9 lakh crore rupees. At that time, all TV, media, newspapers, and even exports were saying the same thing: Adani is finished, Adani is gone. But in the following 18 months, my friend, Adani Group not only recovered and emerged stronger, but became the third largest group with a market cap of 213 billion. The group that had dropped out of the top 20 richest people in Asia has now made a comeback. Many companies that has crashed after this report not only recovered but even rose higher. SEBI also gave a clean sheet and the Supreme Court also gave a clean sheet. So question must be running through your mind: what exactly happened in these past 18 months? Was the report even true or were false allegations made? What steps did Adani Group take to bounce back? Where did Adani Group expanded? What is the connection between Adani Group and the Indian government? What events occurred in the stock market and what happened in court? Why did Hindenburg return and what allegations were made this time? And most importantly, what can an ordinary investor, an ordinary businessman, or a curious learner of business learn from all these events? I will tell everything in today's video, so let's do a complete analysis of Adani's comeback report. This video is a complete masterclass on how one can show patience, confidence, and take small steps to overcome even the biggest challenges. So we will divide it into two parts. First, we will explore the stock market situation, what actions were taken and what decisions were made that led to recovery in the stock market. And secondly, we will look at the legal angle. What happened in the Supreme Court and what happened in SEBI? What reports came out and what investigations were done? We will discuss everything in detail. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I encourage you to do so. And if you enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. We have covered some incredible case studies and have many more exciting content on the way. With that, let's start the video. We will look deeply into the stock market aspect later, but first let's briefly look at what happened in the legal sector. In January 2023, Hindenburg's report came out and caused a significant disturbance in the media and the market. In February, a PIL was filed in the Supreme Court stating that such a big report has come out and it should be investigated. There has been stock market manipulation. Look at the serious allegations that have been made. Action should be taken. The Supreme Court said, listen carefully. Who bought out this report? Hindenburg. And who is Hindenburg? Short seller. And what does a short seller do? They short the shares of a company in advance and then highlight its negative points so that the shares fall and they can profit from it. They could be lying, they could be exaggerating, so how can we trust their words? Let's assume we believe them for once, but who are they? They are not Indian, they are a foreign agency, and not just foreign, they are short sellers. So we don't believe them, but yes, we can start our investigations by considering their words. But we cannot take it as a final conclusion. The court said we will only consider it a conclusion when an Indian investigative agency investigates according to its standards and says something. Then only we will accept it. Why should we believe a foreign agency? Therefore, the Supreme Court took two main decisions at that time. First, they formed their internal committee and told a retired judge to lead the investigation and give a report within 2 months. Then some PILs were filed, some requests came to form an SIT and even to give it to the CBI. The Supreme Court then said the body that understands the stock market and price manipulation the best is SEBI. It has the experience, so it will be given to them. The Supreme Court denied the SIT and CBI and told SEBI to investigate and submit a report. Finally, the court-appointed committee also gave a clean sheet saying that they have found no evidence of stock manipulation. SEBI also completed its investigation and submitted a report to the Supreme Court which confirmed no major irregularities were found. When both the committee and SEBI gave a clean sheet, the stocks soared rapidly. In fact, SEBI then sent a notice to Hindenburg saying, "We have conducted our investigations and found nothing. You tell us why you created this report and caused disturbance in our stock market." Hindenburg said, "You are an Indian agency, why should we answer you?" They didn't respond it. Instead, Hindenburg said, "SEBI is asking us questions, let's ask questions to the SEBI chief." And there's a simple strategy: if someone accuses you, you accuse them back to undermine their credibility. So Hindenburg accused Madhvi Puri and said, "You are involved with Adani Group. You and your husband have invested in funds that invests in Adani Group." SEBI chief said, "The funds you are talking about, I invested in it in 2015 when I was not the SEBI chief. I became the SEBI chief in 2022. At that time, I was an individual citizen. I could do what I wanted." Secondly, the SEBI chief also pointed out that the fund she invested in never had any investments in the Adani Group, and this was confirmed by the fund itself. Hindenburg then claimed that the fund was based in Mauritius and it was connected to the shell companies there. However, the Mauritius authorities and the fund both denied these claims, so the allegations are still ongoing. But overall, the impact that the report had on the shares last time, where they dropped by 70 to 80%, that impact was not seen this time. There was some movement in the market, it went up and down a little, but overall investors understood that the Hindenburg will come every 2 months, it will make some allegations, just leave it. Now let's discuss what happened in the stock market. Some experts who support Adani Group say that this is being done intentionally because Adani Group is investing in places that are strategically important for India, and some forces don't want that. Which are those forces? Where is the investment being made? What is the whole matter? I will tell you in the end, so watch the video till the end. First, let's see what changes Adani made in his company, what actions were taken which led to a fast recovery in the stock market. The easiest thing was to take actions on all the allegations that were made. The first allegation was that the shares of this company are pledged, which means they were mortgaged. Now, pledging your company share is not wrong, but yes, it is risky. If something goes wrong, the company's shares can be lost and the market can crash. So Adani Group said, "No problem, we'll fix it." They repaid the 2.15 billion, that is around 17,000 crores ahead of time, that was raised by pledging shares, and they got their mortgage shares back. When the report was released, there was an FPO coming up for 20,000 crores, and the report came at the same time so that the issue wouldn't be subscribed. And it did cause some trouble. However, on the last day, the full 20,000 crores got subscribed. There were 20,000 crores in Adani's group account, but Gautam Adani said the market is fluctuating right now. If we take this money, there will be talks. So on the same day, they returned the 20,000 crores to the market. This gave investors a bit of confidence. He got the money and returned it, which means the person is trustworthy. Secondly, when allegations are made, what usually happens? Companies' top executives start leaving. Some CFO will leave, some CEOs will leave, directors will leave because of the fear that they might get caught up in the issues. But in this entire matter, no major exits happened. All the senior executives in the company remained where they were because they had trust. The market saw all these things as a sign of overall stability, and new investors also started coming in. There's an investor, GQG Partners, who invested 4.25 billion, which is approximately 35,000 crores in 4 different Adani companies. Furthermore, Qatar Investment Authority and France Total Energy invested 770 million in Adani Group. Then the international holding company, which belongs to the Abu Dhabi royal family, took a 5% stake in Adani Enterprises. Then even in their Colombo port project in Sri Lanka, the US invested 553 million, which is approximately 4,000 crores. So my friend, the Middle East is investing, the US is investing, money is flowing into every company. Definitely the market sentiments became positive and the shares began to rise. There was another allegation that they had taken a lot of debt, and how would they repay it? See, there's something called net debt to EBITDA ratio, which essentially measures how much income you have versus how much debt you owe. Their ratio was 3.81, meaning almost 4 times, but they reduced it to 3.27 in a very short period. In fact, they stated in their balance sheet that with all the combined companies and the new investments, they have cash reserves of 40,000 crores. And in the next 12 months, an additional 33,000 crores are expected from various sources. So they showed everyone that they would repay all their due loans without any issues and made it clear that there's no reason for concern. Then there's another metric called debt service ratio, which indicates your ability to repay loans. Their ratio was 1.47, which means they owed 1 rupee and were earning 1.5 rupee. They weren't worried about it, but they further improved it to 2, which means for every 1 ode, now they earn 2 rupees. This also boosted investors' confidence. A smart businessman diversifies both his business and its locations. The Adani Group operates in 24 states across India. They are not limited to a few states where they have good relations, but they conduct business everywhere. And they are expanding internationally as well. So let's see where the Adani Group has invested globally. In Sri Lanka, the Adani Group invested in the Colombo port to counter the Chinese-controlled Hambantota port. The US also invested to counter China, so they invested 533 million there, making the US and Adani partners against China and Sri Lanka in support of India. They have also invested in the port of Vietnam and in Haifa port, which is Israel's second largest port. Additionally, they have invested in Tanzania and signed a 25-year power agreement with Bangladesh Electricities Board. So now let's talk about the connection between Adani Group and the Indian government. See, the countries I just mentioned are all China-centric, with China establishing its strong presence there. So to counter that, India needed a presence as well. Now obviously the Indian government wouldn't directly acquire these ports, so they use an intermediary. This is where the Adani Group is investing in strategically important areas for India. Usually in developed countries, governments and big businesses collaborate. For example, China promotes many companies to establish its dominance, and the US has done the same with its large corporations. Similarly, the Indian government is using Adani Group to create a presence where it's strategically important for India. That's why some people think that the Indian government created policies to benefit Adani and has a secret agreement with Adani Group. While some people see this as a collusion, others believe it's beneficial for the country. Now, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'm putting both perspectives, forming an opinion is up to you. When the Adani Group operate like this, the US and China can't understand why they are being countered. So they keep making allegations. And let me tell you, as Adani Group is building ports, these are the best investments, as it will become easier for other Indian companies to transport goods, which would eventually open new avenues for trade in the global markets. Now let's address the political allegations. Firstly, Gautam Adani's eldest son Karan Adani, who currently handle Adani ports, stated that they don't get projects due to government connections, but because they can execute them. He mentioned that if they only receive projects based on connections but couldn't execute them profitably, they wouldn't survive. They are efficient, cost effective, and can execute projects quickly. That is why they succeed. On the same question, once Gautam Adani was asked why he entered so quickly into various core businesses. Initially he was in port, then he moved into power, then he moved into cement, and then into real estate. Gautam Adani gave a brilliant response. He said money can be made in any businesses, but before entering a business, I asked whether it will solve a big problem for the country and whether it will benefit the nation. If any of these are true, I enter that sector. If you look at it, the Adani Group is in sectors which are crucial for India's growth. Let's see what projects they are involved in. India's largest private port operator is Adani. India's largest private airport player is Adani. The new Navi Mumbai International Airport that is being constructed is by Adani. Recently, they have also entered real estate and are now among the top 5 companies. Moreover, Adani is also the world's largest solar developer, and let me tell you, they are setting up the world's largest solar park. In gas distribution, they are the largest private city gas distribution company, and they are the largest private power producer. So if you see, they are involved in every sector that will grow with India or that will help India grow. Some of you may love Adani, some of you may hate him, but no one can ignore him. There will always be news about him making big moves. Whether you like him or not, let me know in the comments below. Recently, they launched a QIB issue worth 1 billion, which was not for the retail investors but for big institutional investors. They asked 1 billion but received 6 billion in bids, so they had to return the 5 billion. This shows the confidence in the Adani Group. Now let's talk about what we can learn from this entire case study. Firstly, don't speak too much. Let your actions speak for you. Just like Steve Jobs, who was known for letting his innovative products do the talking rather than making a lot of public statements. Similarly, the Adani Group has given a very few interviews but speak through their actions. Secondly, always be fair and vigilant in financial matters. They took loans but repaid them as soon as allegations arose. They ensured they had the resources to repay their debt, and most of their investments are in tangible assets like ports. Their loans are secured by these assets. They carefully manage their financial ratios and reduce them over time. No matter how much debt you take on, make sure you have the ability to repay it. Thirdly, always diversify the business. If something goes wrong with ports, they have power. If something happens in power, they have cement. And if something happens in cement, they even have airports. They operate in 24 states, and if something happens in India, they are working internationally as well. The fourth lesson we always learn from all the big business tycoons is to think big. Whatever you plan, do it on a large scale, the biggest in the country, the biggest in the world, the biggest in the state. And lastly, don't worry too much about criticism. Whether you do good or bad, people will always say something. Let them talk, focus on your work. If you're right, everything will eventually fall into place, and if you're wrong, people will criticize you regardless. My personal opinion on Adani is that their story is still unfolding. The next 5 to 10 years will reveal what this group truly is and what they have accomplished. So whether you form a positive or negative opinion now, it might change with time. This was the complete analysis of Adani Group. If you have any comments, leave them down below. See you in the next video. Until then, thank you.